Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor? Seeing none? You want to speak? So we've got the opposition, so we're going to give the opposition 15 minutes. So the lead presenter can get up and speak. So you'll have 15 minutes. So give an address, please.
I want to get this mic right this time. Hello, my name is Patty Emerald. I live on Myrtle Square. I'm here to talk about Article 97 and how it protects open space and recreation areas in our city.
Patty, can you just just a smidge back.
Okay. Our city adopted Article 97 to protect Mattos Field and other public open spaces 40 years ago. In doing so, our city assured citizens that the public parks, woodlands, stream sides, and other open spaces that they know and love cannot be converted to other uses without a public process and legislative action affording citizens the opportunity to advocate for the land and with mitigation if a disposition were to happen. In addition to adopting Article 97 40 years ago, our city adopted our comprehensive plan in 2001 to further identify and protect all open space in our city. This plan also reinforces existing policies to protect the environmental and natural resources by recommending new actions and regulations to preserve water, air, and the very rock and ledge upon which much of Gloucester is built. Because of the 2001 plan, the Open Space and Recreation Advisory Committee was formed in 2010 to create and implement an open space and recreation plan for the city which will ensure the existence, smart use, access to open space in perpetuity, ensure that contiguous areas, functions, and values that depends on them are maintained. The City of Gloucester's open space plan states that the highest level of protection land transferred with the deed that expressly states that that land has been acquired for open space and recreational purposes, including Article 97 of the Massachusetts Constitution, adopted in 1918, amended in 1972, that allows government or private entities to hold conservation restrictions. Land that has traditionally been used for open space and recreation purposes also has a high degree of protection since Article 97 has been interpreted to cover these areas even in the absence of express deed language. The goal of our Open Space Committee continues to be to identify, prioritize, and preserve highly valued open space through permanent protection and increase public access to open space and waterfronts, consistent with preservation of environmental resources and consideration of needs and amenities of our neighborhoods and the city as a whole. We feel that Mattos Field is the only significant open space within this densely populated neighborhood. By voting to build upon this dedicated playground recreation area, our city council will go against everything that we have planned together and adopted to protect our open spaces. This proposed new school process knocked out East Gloucester in part because moving forward they would undercut all the city's prior plans in place, like density in the neighborhood. Why aren't the plans for this neighborhood afforded the same respect and treatment? We understand that the city will request an Article 97 exemption, and they have proposed to create open space in the existing East Gloucester neighborhood. But it will be a significant distance from this densely populated community, where this green space is intricately linked in accessibility to most from the surrounding Maidelsfield neighborhood. We feel this open space property should not be considered because it's not equal value and size to Maidelsfield, which makes it ineligible for an Article 97 exemption. According to the city's municipal records, it received federal funds multiple times. We urge you to vote no to send a petition for disposition to our legislative body based on the information and facts I discussed with you tonight. Please preserve, protect, and retain our open spaces. Thank you, Patty Emerald.
So, some of you would like to stand up and go get up on this side of the auditorium and all right, so name and address for the record, please. Hold on a second. All right, let's be respectful. Let's also hold the applause because I want to try to get everybody to speak this evening. So the longer it takes us, all right, so just please abide by what we're requesting, that's all. Thank you. Name and address for the record.
Lucky Sean Pavone, 15 Wall Street. I've been here for 15 years. I'm a member of the GFC. I see the kids playing down there all Wednesday, Thursday. They're all having a ball down there when they put the lights in. It was amazing how the community came through to put that all in. And to see this going, as a project manager in my back home in Seattle where I was raised, over 20 years of project managing, you can put a school there and not destroy the field. You don't have to destroy the field and everything. You can build a school in the footprint and still maintain Mattos Field.
Thank you. Next, name and record, name and address, please.
Hi, Marion L. Shea, 93 Mount Pleasant Avenue. Gloucester Times, February 22nd. If the city gains Article 97 relief, the city will use and hold East Gloucester School site, known and numbered as 8 Davis Street Extension, comprising of approximately 3 acres, for public park and open space purposes, without Article 97 restrictions on such use, provided that the legislature may reasonably vary the form and substance of the requested legislation with the scope of the general public's objectives of this petition. Let's be clear, this land can be taken away at any time and used as the city sees fit if no restrictions are placed on it. Will this be a fair land swap as Mattos Field has stood as a recreational playground for 85 years? It is not balanced if the property does remain open green space. This proposed motion makes a strong case that while the intention is to make a swap of equal or greater value, it is diminished when the city can dispose of the new swap land once such a vote is approved. We expect the public to believe that. The Times also states, February 22nd, the argument defends the ball field's permanence and its current address, claiming that it was deeded as preserved green space, and the legitimacy of the claim will continue this evening. February 12th, school committee meeting, Dr. Sapphire, quote, we're talking city council versus the populace. It's 2/3 vote in the House and 2/3 vote in the Senate. And if it's approved, what standing does the litigator have? He continues, I'm asking you not to conflate the need for the city council to be fully educated versus our availability to get the message out in simple terms, end quote. With a project of great magnitude, all information regarding both the veterans and each ES property should have been readily available for the people's view. The purpose of Article 97 is to ensure no net loss of Article 97 lands under the ownership and control of the Commonwealth and its political subdivisions. The Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs will not support an Article 97 disposition unless the sponsoring agency determines that exceptional circumstances exist for the disposal and certain conditions must be met. Included are 3 maps that I will present to you. One is an overlay of the existing Maxwell Parsons playground. And it looks like they're trying to say that that's city-owned property. Is the land of EGS of equal or greater value that the land of Mattos? Will the land swap sit on environmental property that may also be protected from park construction? Where are the studies for this land? With so many questions answered, it's hard to imagine that a vote can take place tomorrow evening. The public and neighbors deserve the answers. We're not asking for more green space in East Gloucester, rushed for an Article 97. We want neighborhood schools. Please vote no to this Article Article 97? And how will this new park change the demographics of the current neighborhood?
Mary.
Leave the public to believe it's
Mary.
safe forever when it's not. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion. Good yes. Thank you very much. Next, please, for an address.
J. Albert, 4 Davis Street Extension. And I grew up here, I grew up next to the school, I still live next to the school. When I went to East Foster Elementary School, the school had a public library, open a few nights a week to the general public. The school has and does now serve as a polling place for East Foster as well as a Ward 1 meeting place. That also is a neighborhood polling place. And living next to East Foster Elementary School, I can attest to the foot traffic and vehicle traffic during busy election times. I can't imagine what Webster Street will look like when you more than double the voters going there. We also have 2 World War I dedicated playgrounds. So far tonight we've been forgetting about Maxwell Parsons, which sits next to East Gloucester School. As a matter of fact, half the school sits on almost a similar situation as Vets. Both located in neighborhoods where our fallen heroes lived and played. Today, both are being threatened by a lack of common sense, innovation, and respect. We have a developer telling us what to do as costs skyrocket. Instead of telling the developer, here are the schools, develop this property into a state-of-the-art facility. We were told before the school was surplus, it was too big and not suited for elementary-age children. Small neighborhood schools are the way to go. We still have them, and they are all eligible for MSBA funding from the state when their time comes. Rebuild what we have in the neighborhoods that welcome them. Preserve our green spaces and that small school environment that many communities crave for. Thank you.
Thank you. Jay, is your name on that? Because Dana didn't get your name on that. Thank you, sir. Name and address, please.
I live in Swampscott, Mass. I grew up in French.
Name and address, please.
I just told you. 11 Street, Swampscott, Mass. Does it matter?
Yes, it does.
Swampscott, Mass.
No, your name, sir.
Robert Ray, R-E-I-S.
And your address is Swampscott?
I read for nothing. I know it's probably wrong. I don't see why I have to get that out. 11 King Street, T-I-D-E. Owen, Mass.
I have a point of order. We typically don't have non-residents talk.
Oh, look at me. I grew up right down the street. I'm going to be nice, and I just want to say a few things. Someone proved my point for me. This guy I went to elementary school with, who I really didn't get along with that well, okay?
I can't stop it.
Came up to me and told me to calm down.
I withdraw my opposition because I don't have council consensus, so thank you.
No, let me finish. I grew up down the street on Ryan Hall. I had a right to talk. Are you intimidated by me, man?
We're letting you talk, so just,
Okay,
there's no opposition.
Don't kids' friendships, true friendships develop in elementary school? Isn't that what, if you call little kids together, they won't have a chance to develop. I see a guy taught me how to play soccer, said, great deal. And then he gave me a black eye and I gave him one back. And I never want to say she. What about us, our? Ever consider that? If you erase our history, our children have no future. That may not make sense. I understand a lot of you people are going to fly away to Florida in 5 years. Oh, wow. How are you feeling with them? Why should I will? Okay? So let me tell you something. I hear people crying. That's nice. I cry when you hear them crying. Okay? You don't see the road. You don't see the road. How many of you hit a home run? How many of you guys hit a home run there? How many of you guys stole some? Come on, sure. Change is good. Haven't you changed Gloucester enough? Didn't you leave it alone? Can you do that? Are you going to Florida? Jamie, where are you going this winter? Next winter? Can I go up here? Robbie,
just focus and talk to us,
Am I
please.
gonna be able to jump off that pavement? Am I gonna be able to play baseball with the kids that live on field here at Jamie? Tell me. Okay, I don't see concern, two people's faces, yours and yours, that tell me a lot.
All right, we're about 3 minutes, but we appreciate it, thank
There's
you.
so much I can say.
I know, we're all trying to be respectful. Listen, in the beginning,
I can be the
sir, in the beginning, we asked everybody to be respectful. We have a lot of people, so be respectful of the people
I'm
that
not
are
going to disrespect, because I called you out.
We asked to be respectful and to obey what we've asked. And not obeying what we asked you very politely is kind of being disrespectful. So,
You might tell me about growing up.
yes, we did. I grew up in Gloucester.
We aerated the outfield, we tore down all the vines off the backfield that was patio and Jean Suite. That field is used for the special needs softball games. That field is used for local organizations to raise money for dozens of charities, ranging from youth athletic scholarships to treatment. It is the only softball field for girls' athletics. And there's, I don't know how many other fields. And I know it's replaceable. Everything's replaceable. Like we're talking about, the schools are replaceable. I also grew up in the neighborhood, like I said. We go down to set up for our games, and there's kids playing football, soccer. They have random things thrown about the diamonds, they can play pickup game. They're rolling down the field, just hanging out. A lot of the families in that neighborhood can't afford to give their kids their own bedrooms, let alone their own backyards. I was one of those kids. The only other open space within walking distance at Front Street is Front Street Playground, and the only green stuff growing there is the weed scoop pavement. You can't expect a mother to allow her child to walk from Webster Street to Green Street to go play football with their friends. I think what's misconstrued is that the women's softball league, we're not selfishly looking for our field, because we know we can play anywhere. You know, we've been on beach for a long time. And when the lights fell, we fixed it. If the field goes, we'll fix it. But what we can't fix is the fact that these kids won't have a green place, that these girls can't play softball until night because there's no lights and there's no plan of immediate remedy. You know, and as we all went to school here, and we all had Dr. Seuss Day. And there's a story called the Lorax. And the one floor wants to knock down the forest because everybody needs a theme. Just like every kid needs an education. But once he takes down all those trees and there's nothing left and his buildings are falling down and everything that inhabited that area is gone because there's nowhere to enjoy life, he realizes that he made a mistake. And I think disposing of this Article 97 protection is a mistake, and I hope we don't need it.
Thank you, Amanda. That was a tough person to follow, so thank you for holding it together.
Good evening. I am Reginald Mattos. I live at 8 Brooks Road in Salisbury, Massachusetts. And Joseph Escobedo was my uncle. My uncle, Joseph Escobedo, was not a handwriting officer or a politician. He didn't survive the war from the federal. Didn't live that way. He just a Gloucester kid, fisherman's son. 19 years old, he was killed in combat in France. So maybe there's really no need for the city of Gloucester to honor his memory or the sacrifice of his family. Joseph was born and brought up in Lincoln Place, just a stone's throw from the present field. So it is eminently fitting that his memorial should be in the neighborhood where he was raised. In 1935, his mother, father, and 7 siblings were still alive and active in Gloucester, playing on the Webster Street to his memory. A unique honor at the time, as today, in most public facilities are named for politicians or distinguished military leaders. But time has dealt that memory, and the need to honor his memory. In the early 50s, a large portion of that playground was taken to build a Veterans Memorial School. But it was a long time ago, and neglect and the absence of basically this field needs to be replaced. Well, President Memorial School, when the President Memorial School was first proposed, there was a strong feeling in the community, especially the Portuguese community, that remained in honor by Joseph Casanova Jr. However, veterans group been seated, conceded, and because there was a lack of other monuments to veterans in general, they convinced the city to name this President School the Veterans Memorial School, in honor of all veterans. So a large part of Mayville's playground became the new school. Now the school committee wants to take the rest of that memorial and build a bigger school. The school building committee has mentioned some of its tenuous plans to move the field to East Gloucester, far away from its present location. In the new location, it will have very little connection and meaning to nearby residents. And out of the other piece of recreational property, it's taken, it must be replaced with a suitable substitute. Is the site in East Gloucester suitable for kids living on French Street, on Establish Street, in the surrounding area, where they walk or get on their bicycles and make their way across town to a new playground? Not only is this wrong, but due to heavy traffic and growth, you have traffic mostly unsafe. Thank you.
My name is Laura Dragulo, that's L-A-R-A, last name J-A-R-D-U-L-L-O, because it's very hard to spell, and I live at 2 Ocean Avenue. I want to start by saying thank you to all the council members, and I also want to thank all the teachers that work so hard over at East Gloucester Elementary and all the other teachers in the building. Being an educator myself, I know that that's a very important role, and I do take children's education very important. It's a very important thing. And I also want to say, it's not that I oppose building a new school. To me, it's just the location and the lack of green space that will be available. And, you know, you've seen the plans, I'm sure, and there is a very little amount of green space that will really take away from the integrity of the neighborhood. And that's something that I don't have in this letter, but it's just, you know, they just released the new plans, and I feel like it is a great disparage to not have that green space. And so I'll just be in. Tonight we're voting whether or not to have a new school or not in place of, whether a new school should go in place of Mattos Field. If so, the new school would be replacing an extremely important green space on Webster Street. This field has been a green space used for recreation for over 100 years. The field is needed, as you guys know, for recreational space, and that fact should be upheld and respected. This field is dedicated to a local veteran, Joseph Mattos Jr. Joseph gave his life in service during World War I. This dedication should stay in place, and his sacrifice should be remembered. This field is important to the city as well as the community used by. And like Amanda said, every time we pull up to the field during softball games, there are parents with kids playing. They can't get to East Gloucester as easily access to do that kind of playing, you know, and just ride their bikes over. I think the neighborhood schools are very important. These lovely little schools provide a close-knit community to parents and students that a large regionalization cannot provide. I teach a class for third graders. It's dancing through the decades. I've done it not at veteran school, but at all the other elementary schools. And these lovely schools are charming, and I know that they do need repairs, and I do acknowledge that, because even, you know, the heat has been having trouble over East Gloucester. These neighborhood schools provide a small classroom atmosphere and a personal approach that students just don't get. You know, if I'm teaching, which I had to at West Parish, I had to teach a large-scale class, and I was going to give them the close-knit type of experience that they can provide. And I think that special programs such as art, music, and PE would suffer from these large classroom volumes. And it's a huge, these classes play a huge role to a child's development and well-being. I feel we can do better. I can feel we can find a better option. Between the traffic impact and the lack of lot space, it will have a negative impact on the community. And please find another solution than the veteran site. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you, Bob. Can we have your statement, please? Thank you. And if you want to teach the council about dance through the decades, we're all for it. Let us know. Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Kaylee Meoni, 6 Davis Street Extension. My husband and I are the direct abutters of the East Gloucester School site, and we have many concerns about the possibility of a land swap. Here are some of them. Will this land be deed protected forever? Does forever mean anything? As the motion states, is it without restrictions? Could we then use this open space because the land is wanted for housing and/or development? If no, what guarantee do we have? What will happen to this land if and when the building is taken down? Is there a projected drawing of what it will look like? Is this swap an overlay onto Lieutenant Maxwell Parsons Playground? If not, how far will it extend? What will be the price tag to the taxpayers to create such a park? Who will maintain the park? Will the layout of our street change? Will the circle out front of the school stay? Who will maintain that if it does stay? Because currently the PTO does that. We are concerned about the runoff and drainage if it is graded down. What is the projected timeline for land swap to take place? Is there a time frame in which 8 Davis Street Extension would be turned into a green space? As parents of children who would attend that school, we are concerned about the lack of open space at what would be the veteran site. 6,750 square feet is a minimal amount of non-structured open space for children to use. Where would outside school-wide events take place, such as field day? I know my children have Maxwell Parsons Playground to play at. They're a stone's throw away. I can see them walk there. The children over near Green Street, over near the veteran site, will lose that space. How fair is it when my kids are going to be gaining all this extra open space where these kids are going to lose their open space that they have in their neighborhood? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kaylee. Next, please. Name and address for the record.
My name is Ben Blanchard. I live at 14 Webster Street. And I just think it's ironic that I laughed when I first read that bill, not for today alone, but for tomorrow as well. And I feel like that was the whole intent of the Mattos field. You know, even if it was like, oh, not this section here, it was sold for $1 for the sole purpose of recreation, playground. You know, and I just feel like we can mix and change things, but this is what it was for. Why can't we preserve what it was originally intended for? That's frustrating to me. I live across the street, and I moved up to this community because it was a seaside community, and it had music, and it had art, and it has the local people, and I value community. And what I found by living there is that there's a women's softball field team, or like other people that go there, I'll go over there and throw the ball around. I meet other people. And that's what community is, and that's why one of the reasons why I moved up here. And you know, some of my friends that are like bankers and real estate people are like, oh, don't fight it because your real estate's going to go up if they go to new school. And I'm like, what about like, you know, what about me and the kids? And like, I was one of those kids that was always out in the field doing stuff, and that was like a mental health thing for me to get rid of my whatever was going on in my life. And these kids around the neighborhood, I see them, whether they're like baseball or like frisbee or whatever it is, they're down there like, they're not in their homes or in their basements or in their rooms like playing on the computers that we're trying to get them away from. They're playing and they're in community and they're learning how to fight and get over stuff and all that. You know, it's just frustrating because it's a public, I understood, you know, when I moved in, I go, this is something we have, nobody's ever going to touch that. That's going to be busy. Well, why can't we, as representatives of our people, and we're so concerned about our kids, why can't we know what it means to preserve something that was deeded for that purpose? You know, I came to that other meeting that you had a couple weeks ago, and it was interesting. It says, well, what you as a committee had to determine in number 7, the procedure is the Gloucester Department of Public Works has to issue a memorandum declaring that Mattos 2 is no longer needed for such purpose, and refers the matter to Land Disposition Committee for action. Well, we need that land for its purpose, recreation and play. for a community. I live in that community, thank you. And we need to preserve that community feeling. You can't move it across. I don't even know where East Gloucester is. It's like, I'm joking, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, thanks.
And, can you leave the statement with our clerk, please? That's all right. Thank you, I appreciate it. Anything else for the record?
Stuart there, 91 Pleasant Ave. My wife and I originally lived on Mount Vernon Street. When I moved here, driving past Mattos Field was such a pleasure to see. It was great to see that green space. It was run down then when I first moved here. It was great to see it revived and got a new space for people to use. We moved over to East Gloucester. We had kids. We decided to stay in the city for the small schools. I don't think it would be fair to take away one green space in the neighborhood and put it in one other neighborhood. I really oppose Article 97.
Thank you, Stu. Next, name and address for the record, please.
Tracy O'Neill, 12 Friend Street. If I may, I'd like to give this to your councilors to take a look at this photo. It's out in front of my house. You can pass it along. Cars drive up over the sidewalk constantly. So in that photo, you're looking up the hill from Prospect Street. So some bank is on your right, house is on the left. Cars park on the right, they don't park on the left. There's no curb, and it's used as for two cars to pass. If they don't go over the sidewalk, two cars cannot pass. So it's already dangerous for me and my 7-year-old nephew, whom I enjoy having once a week. I put my life in my hands because there's a tree right there that I can't see cars coming, so I have to stop and listen for cars before I step out onto my sidewalk. So adding 200 more students, there are 200 students in veterans now, and we're going to add 200 more or 240 more. That would increase traffic by 200 cars, or 100, even just 100. They're going to drop their kids off, they're going to take a left on Friend Street, and they're coming right down over my sidewalk. For anyone to think that they're going to go in that loop in a queue of 100 cars and wait to pick up kids, I think is really unrealistic. They're going to wait on the side of the road of Webster Street, and the diagram of Webster Street, if it was up, it looks a lot wider than it truly is. That's my spiel on that. Tonight is about Article 97. And the first gentleman that spoke, Chip, he works for the city, yes? Okay, he said this is like the first of many votes to come. So I would ask that you hold off voting on Article 97 tomorrow and wait until the citizens of the city vote on, in the November election or whenever you have the election, to see if it passes. Like if people vote for the school to be put there, then go after the Article 97 thing. Why go after 97 if the majority of the city doesn't want the school to go there? So, and then if you do Article 97, then it'll be done and anyone can take that land. Right? So I implore you, I ask you, please hold off until the city of Gloucester votes on the school before you vote on Article 97. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Next, please, name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Denise Piscucci. I'm from 500 Birchwood Heights. Sorry, I'm cold and hot carpet. I totally agree with Tracy as far as taking this vote tomorrow prior to with us trying to better our schools, making them safe, and that's, I think, one of the most important things that are safe, that all our schools are safe, okay? But as you can see, I am a part of the Kid and Women's Soccer League. I was also a part of the Light Up Mattos Committee, which we raised a lot of money. We raised $280,000 within a 3-year period with Patty, and we're talking countless hours, okay, CPA grants, $190,000 in CPA grants. That's money that we all paid through our taxes, all of us that live here, okay? So as far as taking that money, we accepted a $75,000 donation from the Dusky Foundation. To me, taking money from our citizens and putting it into a field that we all thought that would be there forever, because it has been there forever, 85 years or so, and it's been in a neighborhood that needs that community space. Obviously, the schools are needed, but the space that you're choosing after the traffic study was finished, it looked like they added another loop, which is the afternoon pickup, which I think really makes that a crammed-in space. You have a loop that extends around a 100 by 60 foot turf fenced-in area. I don't think that can equal a green space that kids can come out of school and play. And I asked at one of the meetings is, what about the weekends? Where are the kids going to play in that area on the weekends? How safe is that school that you have roads around the whole place? You're going to dig a hole out front for buses, to the right is a drop-off, to the left is a afternoon pickup. So I really, really hope that you look at what you're doing here as far as pushing this whole thing through and changing the law that protects our open spaces. And I think for the future of my grandchildren and everybody else's children and grandchildren, that Gloucester is a special, beautiful place. If you start taking away these special protected lands, you're taking away what we have in the beauty of our city. And thank you.
Thank you. Address for the record, please.
Kelly Brenfioni, 28 Zero Street.
Yes, Lisa, if you want to give that to Dana, please, that'd be great.
28 Zero Street. I'm speaking tonight not only as a volunteer member of the Light Up Mattos Committee, but as a concerned engineering professional and citizen. It's my belief that the Mattos Field site is not an appropriate site to construct a new building. The site comes with both structural and financial risks. In 2005, the Light Up Mattos Committee retained the services of a geotechnical engineer to perform a subsurface investigation of the field. According to his report, the existing light pole adjacent to the right field is leaning significantly, suggesting the soils in the area provide inadequate lateral support. Not to our surprise, one of the poles collapsed that summer, putting the field out of commission. The soil was highly and is still highly unstable. Let's remember the field was once occupied by a pond that had been filled and leveled, and fill is generally not high-quality material. In 2005, the report was on to say the groundwater levels range from 1 to 3 feet below ground surface. Such a high water table could result in groundwater seeping into the building's foundation, causing both cosmetic and structural damage by undermining the structure. We are all aware of the problems associated with water present in the East Gloucester School basement. On the site of a former pond, we should be prepared for potential water issues. Published just last month, based on more recent investigations, the preferred schematic report by the architect states, there is no one single foundation support system that can accommodate the subsurface conditions that underlie this proposed building. The conditions vary throughout the site, we found, and each condition represents a unique challenge that has to be rectified. The existing ground needs to be improved by various soil strengthening techniques before construction of a new foundation can even begin. The extent of these improvements is unknown and could amount to an astronomical cost. Let's not forget the issues with the Gloucester High School bleachers, which also lay on Phil's site. In the years after they were built, the bleachers settled and the entire structure had to be removed and rebuilt on a new foundation. I'm greatly concerned the risks associated with construction on the site are far more serious than the voting members of the committee are aware of. I urge the school committee to take a step back and consider an alternate and more appropriate site for the building. Thank you.
Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Catherine Ryan, and my address is 17 High Rock. We're here today to discuss Article 97 because a new consolidated school is proposed. It's not should City Council members vote yes or no tomorrow on Article 97. It's how can the City Council vote at all? Because doing so makes public opinion and voting come November moot by design. Specifically, how can the City Council vote yes or no when members of the school committee, as recently as February 12, 2020, the last meeting, were confused about the consolidation plans and costs and did not understand Article 97. At the last school committee meeting, members posed questions like this. The 97 means that if we petition the state, we're doing like a swap of land, meaning the land that the East Gloucester School currently sits on is going to be swapped for green space. With that, we're going to take in Mattos. Am I correct, Mattos? But how does that protect us or prevent a lawsuit going forward? So if this passes, there's no legal challenge to the actual doing it? To which the superintendent summarized, it's a 2/3 vote in the House and it's a 2/3 vote in the Senate. And if it's approved, what standing does any litigator have? Well, that seems to neutralize any public override vote come November. That's called stacking the deck. I also want to address, have the appropriate disclosure forms been filed with the city and state? I appreciate both of your comments at the beginning, but specifically I want to push a little bit on Councilor Gilman, also the new executive director on the building committee, the new executive director for GEF on the building committee, and former council chair Paul Lumber in his capacity to vote yes. Please see the required state ethics conflict of interest law training course slides 1, 5, 10, 40, 65, 68, and 69. I can read them out, but I want to be conscious of the 3 minutes. I appreciate that you're a volunteer in both capacities, but as recently as January, you were doing a fundraiser for GEF.
I have not done a fundraiser for GEF, so.
You did it. You were the city councilor. Your donations went to GEF.
I did not do a fundraiser for GEF, so excuse me, point of order.
And it doesn't matter if you're a volunteer because the slide says whether you volunteer or not.
Thank you, Council President. This is an out of order, it's unfair to me.
Attacking the council is not responsible.
Okay, so I just want to repeat 1, 5, 10, 40, 65, 68, and 69, and I hope that we can get a response to that. And my final comment is, in consideration of the Article 97 vote coming up tomorrow, I'm asking that you postpone the vote until after the public votes in the fall. And why? Because no city project of this magnitude should be hinging on a 9th-hour Article 97 vote, which can technically move forward under the purview of a group, the building committee, which has members that aren't elected. People have noted that there have been 30 public meetings. Yes, the school committee and building committee meetings are public. It's the law. However, the working groups are not subject to open meeting law, and other substantial discussions and decisions happen. So in consideration of the Article 97 vote, how many working meetings have there been? And can
Next, please.
Please say no. Thank you.
Next, name and address for the record. Next, name and address for the record, please. Thank you, sir.
My name is Doug Parsons. I live at 39 Mount Pleasant Avenue. A little ancient history. About 40 years ago, they decided to close a bunch of neighborhood schools in Gloucester, and I was involved in trying to keep them open. That didn't work. So my impression of a neighborhood school now doesn't exist. If I was in your situation, in some respects right now, I would say, why go with the 97 at all? Put the school where you're not going to have that problem. You've got 22 acres of land in Beaman School. You can put it up there. You're going to rebuild Beaman. You're going to move Plum Cove down the road. You folks may not, but somewhere along the way. Not leave East Gloucester and Veterans where it is for now. Build a new Beaman Plum Cove school up there. And then build a new East Gloucester Veterans School on the same piece of property. Keep the kids together. And that way you don't have any Article 97 problem. You have the kids there, you're going to go from there to O'Malley, which is down the street. And you keep the fields where they are in East Boston and at Mattos, and I just think it would be make a whole lot more sense. And I know, then again, we can't afford it. So you gotta go through that route too. But this is where I think you need to look at another position. And just for the fun of it, my family's been here since 1650.
Proud alumni of Hubby Schools, so I remember neighborhood schools. Next, name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, G. Sepulveda, 92 Granite Street, Rockport. When I read the Gloucester Times notice advising the public of this hearing, I wasn't really sure whether it was a public hearing or a resident hearing. So the reason I'm showing up late tonight is because I was sitting in my bed watching this on television when a guy from Swampscott came in here. I said, I guess it's a public hearing as well as a resident hearing. That's right. So I'm glad to hear that, because I think that the city of Gloucester, in any community, does well to listen to outsiders without any necessarily vested interests, but just a disinterested interest in the overall scheme. And I know when I think back to my elementary school days down in Pigeon Cove, we had a big field right adjacent to it, and I think the lessons that you learn on that field are more, and it's just as important as what we ever learned at school. Number one is that life has got certain sets of rules that you go by, and we set our own rules on that field, but we played by them, and people were excluded from the games if they didn't follow them. So I'm just saying there's a great, I think, a great deal of benefit in informal as well as formally structured activities. And the only thing that I'm really thinking, that I was thinking a couple of days ago, is that if you move another substitute, another place over on Eastern Avenue School or whatever it is, can kids actually walk there? Can they get there? Do they have to be transported there? And if that's the case, then I think that there's some serious thought that has to go into shifting any fields where people have to be transported by adults. Thank you.
Sorry to get you off your couch tonight. Always a bad.
Okay, everybody, come with me.
Right, 12 together. Peter Wright, W-R-I-T. 12 Mystic Avenue.
Basically, I just have a question for you. How many think it's a good idea to put a recreational area, fenced-in recreational area, surrounded by a road? I know it's not a main road, but it's still surrounded by a road. You know what answer that? You don't think it's a good idea? I think it's time to send them back to the drawing board and put the school's in the wrong spot. Thank you.
Name and address?
Pam Steele, 10 Pilots Hill. I'm here to ask you to vote no, because me and my fellow senior citizens are not going to be appreciative of being driven out of town by the taxes. And it looks like no one can seem to tell us how much more we're going to be paying so we can project into the next 10 or 20 or however many years we're going to have to be paying with the sewer coming. And the other thing that really upsets me is taking that field from the kids at Webster. There's no way they're going to play this Webster. How can you say on one hand you love kids, and then you take their field away? 180 days is school, 180 days is playing in the field. I went to St. Anne's, there were 50, 40 kids in a class. I loved it, it was a community, it's made me who I am. You don't need the bells and whistles, you need a community. This community is torn apart by this issue. Whether you want to own it or not, I see people every day. It's wrong. You've got to help us. There's got to be another way out. I've been to every meeting. This is my golden years. I'm supposed to be home, happy, watching TV. I'm at every meeting trying to figure out how I can fit in, what we can do, and it's just, I don't know. But I would just like you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, name the record for the, name for the record, please.
Denise Bowling, 57 Western Ave. And I agree with everything they said about not building that site. But I'm not here for a really important question. When I looked at the PDF on the Times website, the new proposal includes the house and the fraternity club and the building on the side. And I want to know if that's going to be taken under eminent domain or what's going on with that. And I don't see how you could vote with that kind of outline. So what is the answer to that?
We'll ask questions. Right now is not the time for questions. After this, we'll write it down and we'll ask our general
How
counsel.
can you vote tomorrow if it looks like it's going to be taken by eminent domain? The person knows about
The
it.
way the public hearing goes is we listen to the public hearing and then we ask questions.
Okay.
So right now is not the time.
Please consider that, because that's a huge deal. I mean, the yellow that goes over the new site proposal includes the fraternity club, what's the number? 25 Webster Street, and then if you go up around the corner, there's a huge building there that it looks like it covers too. So is anybody else aware of this, or did I just pick it up? So please don't vote yet.
Thank you, Denise. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, hello, my name is Richard Alexander. I reside at 16 Webster Street. I've been born in Gloucester. I've lived here my whole life. I've lived most of my life on Webster Street. And that was my cousin who was just talking. At some point, I would like to have that address because my parents live at 25 Webster Street, which abuts the land 11 Webster Street. So if that project goes any further, they may be forced out. At some point, I would like it to be addressed. Now, as far as the new construction, I've lived on Webster Street most of my life. And I've seen changes, I've seen the land and the school itself evolve. I went to that school as a child, so I wouldn't like to see it go. But your new proposal will be doubling population from 220 to about 440 students. And there's a logistical problem there. It's really traffic. So I've seen full-size school buses trying to get in and out. Webster Street is a very narrow street. And if you try to double the capacity, you will have log jams. So, thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, are there any communications?
Yes, there were. Received them all, and there were 10 in opposition and 32 in support.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So now the time is for councilor questions. Are there any councilor questions?